Jeez. None of it matters.
I was literally sat here thinking, so you started the show. he's like, man, what about this? I'm like, hey, Brandon, the cue is we haven't given you a microphone. Shut up. And I hadn't said anything. You'd said something. And then
Are we recording? Yes.
recording.
Well, we weren't. Brandon, this is the intro. So, for those who are tuned in at home, we're sitting in the studio talking about Latin. And Brandon, our producer, did not realize that our talking about Latin was for the general public at home, not for his personal consumption.
To be fair, these are the types of conversations we have just around the office.
All right, I'll give you the too long don't read on Latin. We use a lot of Latin. Etc., for instance, means and the rest. I.e. means id est, or that is. E.g. is exempli gratia, or for example. And I motion to add ETM, or et merda, into our lexicon because it means and shit. To that end, I'm Ace Callwood.
And ETM.
That's not the fucking joke. You were supposed to say, and I'm Scott Wayne, and I say, and this is Envoy Recorded Radio at Merida. That's how we land. Play the fucking sting. And we're back.
Jesus. So talk about ignoring demand signals. I've been drowning in messages, as I'm sure you have, of like, when are you guys going to do a show? When is the next ERR? We've done nothing. Like, so when we teach classes about like, look for what the market's looking for, when the market is saying, where is your product? Create a product. Don't just do nothing. Hi, it's good to be back in here.
It is good to be back. We'll see if it's a good product, but it's a product nonetheless.
It's a great product.
Here we are. Hey, if anybody wants, speaking of products, so we're starting to curate some like cool stuff, some stuff that like I dig and we dig, and picking up some products, and ostensibly we will send them to some of you at some point. Maybe if you haven't gotten one, it's because we hate you. But was curious, is anybody interested in wine? Because we kind of want to, we kind of want to like create our own wine, branded wine, maybe.
Yeah.
So if that's a thing,
oh, that's a call out.
It's a question, just some market research.
Michael, if you're listening, Chauncey, if you're listening, we would like to have Envoy branded wine, and we've established that the ever humble Brandon has pointed out he's a world-class illustrator, and his goal in life is to have his illustration on wine bottles, and now we're doing that, apparently.
It was also to go to a Chelsea match. God knows why, but I think he's done that already. So on to wine, folks. Let us know if that's of interest and if we can legally get it to you.
I just want to be clear. If he'd mentioned Chelsea in his interview, he would not be sitting in this podcast studio right now. Anyway, moving on.
Fair.
Where have you been recently?
I was in St. Thomas. I was in St. Thomas, which sounds lovely. And in some regards, it is. But my family's from St. Thomas. So I made it clear to Julie that...
Is St. Thomas in America, or is it like Puerto Rico?
It's like Puerto Rico in that it's part of America. Yes. Yes. For those who don't know that American territories are just that, American territories, and the citizens are therefore American, you're an idiot. And that's that. So, I was in St. Thomas, and I had to explain to Julie that while we were going to Paradise, it is a visit, not a vacation. And she heard me on the way down. She understood. She felt me on the way back. Spent some time with my dad in the hospital, which was an unexpected, comically chaotic thing. Hung out with grandma, saw aunts and uncles, did some exploration, went and saw some property. So all of the things that, it was a housekeeping trip, but it was good. It was good.
I've never thought about it. That's a problem, isn't it? Where going home, which has all of the intricacies of family, is when home is an island paradise, is very different from, hey, do you want to come home with me? And Elizabeth's like, what, to see the steelworks and the nuclear power plant? Is a little bit different from, you're going you've got to say to Jules, like, this is a family trip.
This is not a vacation. And so folks like ask about like vacationing and would I go to the islands, etc. At Merida. And my answer is like I would probably vacation in St. John, where you have to take a ferry from St. Thomas over, and like the family could come visit for a day or two. But it's not even obligatory. It's just like when you're there, you do want to see everybody, and so you go to the barbecue and you go hang out and have dinner with all of the people. And if you're like trying to be off and like down, I think it's a different thing. And we talk about this in the context of the holidays, right? Like the holidays are not off, it's just energy elsewhere. I think going home to see people you love and to hang out and to commune is very different than downshifting and not having any responsibility or obligation. And that's a very different thing. And both are great, but if it's one, not the other, I think managing expectations is important. So it was 5 days in a place that is paradise, doing
in a hospital
housekeeping stuff. Right? Yeah.
I got it. I think lots of people can relate to that.
Yep.
Well,
where were you?
I've really only been aside from the obligatory visits to our Montana and South Carolina offices, which I'm now just telling people we have offices there because we're there so much.
Envoy South, Envoy Northwest. Yeah,
that's not where Montana. Well, it's northwest of here.
Montana is northwest.
Northwest. Well, yeah, it's northwest of here, but it's not the northwest.
It is.
Don't say that to Montana. It's the west. So yeah.
What's above Montana?
Because
what's American, above? You get to the top of Montana.
American cultural vocabulary is designed to confuse
but
Russian invaders.
When you go up from Montana,
hey, go to the Midwest.
Cross
and
the northern border
of the
Montana.
West.
And that's
the South.
Canada,
Is not
I
the
would
South.
imagine.
The South does a little skimming.
The northernmost of the United States is where Montana is.
Yeah.
So it's north. And it's also out in the west.
Yeah, but
it's northwest. Cardinal direction says northwest.
The northern, it's also Maine, which is like a chunk high. Like, it's weird how that works. It's just, I'm saying.
You're saying Maine is more northwest than Montana?
Maine is more north than, significantly more north. Maine is more north than Vancouver.
Canada's more north than Montana.
No, Maine is more north than Canada.
Maine's as
That's why we need Greenland, because it's a loop. It's bending time.
Okay, so we've closed the loop to from Puerto Rico to we need Greenland in the span of 4 minutes.
Said we're going to talk more about global affairs. We've covered it. Now back to stupid shit. So listen, involuntary sponsor of the week. Is actually for your wedding. Your upcoming wedding. I found your wedding DJ. So we're going to post this link, but it's an article from France 24, which is a Portuguese Catholic DJ.
Is this DJ Priest?
Who is hybriding sort of monastic music with techno.
He evangelizes through electronic music.
Yeah.
And look, if you've never been to a rave and seen God, you just haven't been to a rave, folks.
Anyway, I've booked him for your wedding. It's all coming. Strobe lights and all. He's great.
Amen. What's next?
I don't know why that was funny.
To the zeitgeist.
We haven't seen each other in a long time, have we?
Wait, no, we haven't.
You can really tell.
It's problematic.
All right.
So the Kennedy Center's front and center on our list, at least. Is the Kennedy Center shutting down?
So what happened?
Yeah.
So, look, here's my observation of what's happening in Washington. So if you're anybody but the most extreme MAGA, I'm going to come on to extreme MAGA in a second because they're having I feel for extreme MAGA right now. But if you're anything but that, then this is petering out. They're just running out of announcements. So the flood the zone strategy that Steve Bannon talked about, and look, tactically, brilliant, absolutely worked. But they've just run out of announcements now. And I think the Kennedy Center is sort of metaphorical of what's happening across federal entities right now, which is you make these announcements, we're going to take control of the Kennedy Center. It's full of woke nonsense. The president's now chairman of the board. We redo the board, and then artists, through their free will, start choosing not to perform there. We rebrand it as the Trump Kennedy Center, and nobody's going. So how do you save face? You declare that there are renovations happening
that will last
for
2
the
years.
whole period of the administration.
To the end of the administration's term. Right. Yeah.
So it can't be a failure because you can't buy tickets to go to the thing that
There's
isn't
nothing
the
there
thing.
to go to.
And I think that's a metaphor for a lot of the projects that are happening, the things that are going through where, unfortunately, governance matters. facts matter, intelligence matters, analytics matter. And I would listen. This is there is a lot of flack that is being pointed at government servants who've remained in government either at federal level, particularly federal level, but also at state level. We are dealing with a lot of these human beings, but particularly those people who in their personal lives, because I think government officials do a great job of separating their personal from their professional lives. In their personal lives would vote Republican, who are staying in place and doing the work of governing, because it still needs to be done. And it's not a case of like protest votes. And anyway, in all of that world, I'm going to come back to like superficial stuff in a minute. I'm encouraging everybody to do two things at the moment. One is just to ask yourself, is this constitutional? And if it is, that's great. That's what it is. And also don't get all caught up on your opinions on those things. And if it's not, protest loudly about it. But the other is get practiced in celebrating good things that both parties do and terrible things that both parties do, and just become acclimatized to that action. Because what I'm worried about at the moment, because I'm going to come on to MAGA, is that this was just like Brexit. So I think there is a lot of regret about some of the Brexit votes, but it became so impassioned around which side were you on that there's no space for people to say, "Oh, I made a mistake," without a bunch of other people saying, "I told you so." And if we're gonna fix the UK economy, we've got to bridge some gaps. But what that also requires is to say, "Hey, you know what Brexit did? It meant our COVID response was much faster than the European Union because we could move." Like, you've got to say those positive things and then go on balance. And I think in that world, I'm saying very loudly that I think the Trump administration really has got a control of the southern border, and that should have been done before. And then I can say, and I think the tactics of ICE are deplorable in terms of X, Y, and Z, but those things. Wow, I went on a big rope. Anyway, naming, back to that, I think we should just lean into it. So I'm just referring to trips to Trumpington, DC now. And I think that just takes some of the energy away. If we just name it, so you didn't visit St. Thomas, you visited St. Donald. And there's a humor to these things that it calls out how farcical it is.
So yes, I think we. No, we just.
I was saved up for months. Inside voice.
Yeah, clearly, yeah, you got that out. I think you've just made a case for you can be right or you can make progress, right?
Yeah,
and like that's part of. I think that's real, right? Because like I can even acknowledge like I have this visceral reaction to giving. I have a visceral reaction to not saying I told you so sometimes, right? And yeah,
it's so pleasing.
It's
so
cathartic.
See that?
Yeah, and that is both real and true. I talk about this in the context of DEI, which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about anymore, but here we are. I talk about calling people out versus calling people in, right? And I think there's a distinction between somebody.
We might have to explain this.
So, timeout, sidebar. We are currently in the studio in the clubhouse where we are also having construction done to finish the call booths so people can go off and talk to folks virtually. But that means there's drilling and sawing happening in the background.
And we would have told them to stop, but it's David the Marine, and neither of us dare fight him.
And we're going to talk about Marines later, and we figured he'd be pissed off, and so this was our peace offering. Yeah, so I talk about calling people out versus calling people in. And there's one thing to go at an individual or a group about ostensibly stupid shit, right? I think that happens on both sides, right? I understand that. Versus calling people in and saying, hey, despite the fact that you thought a thing differently and you've now seen another side of a potential opinion, like we'd like to invite you into the group that is trying to combat the thing that you've now decided is bad or wrong, etc., that you don't agree with. And that's nuanced and it's hard and it requires like a lot of grace and a lot of patience. And I think we are actively eroding our ability to extend grace and patience while needing more and more. I think that's the work.
Yeah. I was listening to an interview the other day with voters who are still in favor of immigration policies, no matter how aggressive they are. And it was a construction guy in Massachusetts, and he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I will say, this was in the New York Times.
In favor of
full enforcement, whatever it takes to
Okay.
get control of immigration. And what he said was, look, I'm a laborer, and for me to be paid a living wage and to pay workers' comp and taxes and all of those things, you can't have competition that is you can't have competition that is completely undercutting that market. And if I refuse to hire illegal employees, I'm going to check his papers. If you can't hire illegal employees, sorry, you're going to lose every bit because you're being undercut across the way. So he's either, or we accept it and just say this is the way that construction gets done, but you won't have work. Actually, I was working on some workers' comp issues for a state recently. You won't have workers' comp. You won't have any of these things that are sort of the infrastructure. And I think being able to say, oh, I completely get that. And then I'm not going to, we do a lot with military and law enforcement. And I will say the general picture, and most of those people, I would say, lean right. Not all, but most. And I think that view sort of piggybacks with their assessment of ICE at the moment, which is, number one, a lot of what they're doing is unconstitutional. Number two, a lot of what they're doing is completely ineffective. But number three, I really feel for them, because if you signed up for this because you're getting all kinds of bonus and you actually believe in that outcome, and now you're deploying these tactics and are not liaising with local and state police, which is, they would really appreciate the help. Mm-hmm. And I think there's those examples where the National Guard has gone into cities and provide backup to police department and behind the scenes resources, and it's worked really well. Yeah. Like there's examples in New Mexico, there's examples in Tennessee and Kentucky of this happening. Anyway, this is just this sort of picture of being able to hear that voice and say, oh, I see that. And I don't have an answer to that problem, but that's a real problem. Mm-hmm. And you're right. It's like, but this fits on a banner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. There's another side. Maybe we'll tackle this at a different time, but the laborer's argument, for instance, is counter to how capitalism works, and so I think like we're dealing with the social repercussions, the economic repercussions, the national security repercussions, and the legal repercussions of all of the above, and they're at times diametrically opposed. And like I think like so I've been thinking a lot about this present administration lying, and I use that term very intentionally. I realize it's a polarizing one. I watched the Attorney General Bondi I watched the Attorney General Bondi testimony. I watched the Attorney I watched that congressional testimony, and I understand who her singular audience was. And it was none of the Congress people on the dais. It was none of the folks at home tuned in, et cetera, et cetera. But I think when we're in an environment where the things being said are wildly incongruent with anything that we can observe, we start eroding all of our collective ability to have a nuanced discussion about any one of the topics.
So this brings us to, if one can just for a minute suspend their like preachy judgment, and sit in the shoes of a deep MAGA supporter, and think about the absolute pain and dilemma right now, where you have, let's say I've seen some skits on this, but let's say you were a podcaster that leans MAGA. Are you like, hey, no, it's great. We're threatening Iran because if you don't let protesters be on the streets, we're going to bomb you. Oh, wait, Minneapolis. If you're like, hey, you should be able to carry a firearm. We're in like, this is, don't tread on me. This is my Second Amendment rights. Oh, hang on. I just seen that thing from Kash Patel and Christy Gnomes. What do I say about it? If we are all about saving the little man and jobs, and we need to do this, but we're not raiding the factories that have genuine illegal labor that are, or there's no, and those MAGA broadcasters, right, from Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly to Ben Shapiro to who's the little Nazi shithead Nick Fuentes.
Yeah. Little Nazi shithead.
They're
works.
all they're going at each other, and there's no home. And you've been you still believe those things, right? But you're not being served, and then you have this Epsteinery that proves to you that there is this elite for whom the rules don't apply to. All the things you've been saying all along, and everybody denied that it existed, except the very people you voted for, their names are all over it.
The comment, if we prosecuted everyone who showed up in the Epstein files, the whole system would collapse. We laugh, and also and I think that's I saw a comment from a friend the other day. It was basically, we were talking about the podcast contingent.
Yeah,
of folks like, especially who lean toward the right. So it was basically like, we are watching in real time podcasters like Joe Rogan and Shane Gillis in some regards, and Andrew Schultz getting an 11th and 12th grade civics lesson in real time. Yeah. Like we're just watching this, like, to your point, like, but we believe this, shifting to, oh shit, that might be unconstitutional. That might be diametrically opposed to everything we say we believe, and are willing to go bomb people in other countries to uphold. Maybe this is wrong. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe that's illegal. Maybe. And like, we're watching the civics lesson happening for a lot of the country.
Could be summarized as Joe Rogan's face.
Yeah.
You see the look on his face as it's going, wait. Ooh. And to his credit, will change opinions, change minds. By the way, have you seen Jon Stewart talking about Joe Rogan?
I haven't.
It's good. And I think a lot of people could take some lessons from it. And I hope, like, the Wes Moores of this world, Governor Moore, are sort of watching some of his comments, because he's masterful at delivering these types of points, which is, Jon Stewart's like, actually, I don't think Joe Rogan deserves the criticism that he gets at all. He's completely reasonable. I've been on his show. He listens. He engages. He does all of the things that we say we want people to do. He just doesn't end up with the full opinion that everybody wants to do, so everybody gets mad at him. But he actually goes through the process. And if it is a 12th grade civics lesson, okay. Like, that's fine. What did he do before? He's a wrestler or something? Like you. Yeah, you and Joe Rogan have a lot in common. Similar faces, I will say. But I like, this isn't in defense of all that, but seeking that sense of disappointment, and I think it is very similar to the Brexit parallels, is that Boris Johnson, like, I try not to comment on personalities in US politics, but I feel very comfortable doing it. Lying, cheating, shithead Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, basically picked a side and said, I can become popular through this, and made the most outlandish promises of what could happen as a result of Brexit, which unsurprisingly didn't happen. Yeah. But it was a character and a person, and then you're there. But then, I'm not even saying you're embarrassed, but it's just like you're facing a bunch of I told you so's from people like me, and maybe
we don't leave much room to walk things back.
Yeah. Because I'm probably going to have to walk back my support Joe Rogan next week based upon what he says. So
I've already gone on my anti-Joe Rogan diatribe. And
episode.
I said what I said. Yeah, look up that episode. I doubled down there. I think he has a bigger responsibility than having the 12th grade civics lesson live on camera with smart people. He should have done his homework before he started the episode. That's my general premise. But yeah, you can say what you want too, and I'll tell you I told you so later. What's next?
Emerd. What is it?
Ed Merda.
Ed Merda.
There we go.
Merd is shit in French, right?
Yeah.
What is it in Spanish? What Brandon?
Shit. Merda. Yeah. Living eulogies. I want to hear about this.
Brandon says much less when he realizes we're actually doing the podcast.
I was going to say we should give him a mic, but it's funny.
Later. He earns that. It's like a Cub Scout badge. Just one day he'll come in and there'll be a microphone and go, is that mine? Yep.
But you have to wear it like a Cub Scout badge.
But there will be a big button on this table that is on and off.
Living eulogies. Tell me more about this thing on the list that I have not heard anything about yet. You don't remember?
Yeah. This is
I do remember.
this is from an avid listener in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, the Northwest.
You see how you put the Pacific in front of that to distinguish between Northwest
But
and Pacific Northwest?
it is not the Northwest of the Pacific. It's the Northeast of the fucking Pacific. Like, American geography makes no sense.
You're not giving me a 12th grade geography lesson. I fucking understand where North is. Living eulogies.
Moving on. And I'm not sure if this is her wishing me dead, but this idea of, I like this, we might do this at Clubhouse.
Okay.
Since you've built that stage. Is you deliver while the person is alive the
That's
eulogy you would give when they were dead.
Yeah.
Which is, so some guy gave a TED talk and it's like his passion and this was sent to me, but it's just like, why do we waste eulogies on dead people? They can't, well, depending on what your beliefs, they can't hear.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be interesting. It's
I
almost
like
like a positive roast.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the
But roasts are
eulogy
great
that we
too,
would
though,
give
right?
each other,
Yeah.
right?
It
would be a roast.
Okay, as long as we've landed in the same play, I like it. Yeah. We could just call it.
We could do that. We could do eulogy nights.
I think a living eulogy would land like the Clubhouse bathroom does. So we've put markers in the bathroom and people write a whole host of things. And on one end of the spectrum, there are things like somebody wrote, I looked through, there's a bunch of holes in the wall. It's a shitty bathroom. Somebody wrote, I looked through the hole and I got stabbed in the eye. Right? Somebody wrote that on the wall next to the hole. Somebody also wrote, you looked better in your LinkedIn profile picture.
Love that one.
Which hilarious. And then the other end of the spectrum are things on the mirror written that are like, you look great, just breathe, just relax, you've got this. There are just these beautiful sentiments across, like literally across the bathroom, mixed in with "you look better in your LinkedIn profile picture," and I think a living eulogy would land somewhere like that, like from everybody's perspective, giving, giving their version of either piss taking or like support, and both are, I think, important.
So I love that bathroom. It reminds me that sometimes I know my audience because I triggered that. Because it's that disgusting pink color. I was like, oh, we're gonna have to paint this. And then for some reason, there was a marker pen in there. I'm not sure why is that. And so, knowing my audience, I thought I wrote, please do not write on these walls. And within a day, it's off.
Yeah.
And now we don't need to paint it.
It's become a thing.
It's a graffiti wall.
Do you ever try to figure out who wrote what?
Yeah, I do. And
I have no idea.
He's just fessed up to the.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
But that contrast. No, back to the living eulogies of deep love, deep piss take. I think is it. I think because that makes a great eulogy, right? And but I do like this idea of living eulogies.
I have a long-standing, not even debate. I think my mom and I probably fall on the same side of the conversation, but long-standing, long-running, years-long conversation with my mom about showing up for people when they're alive. But she's not big on funerals. She's never been big on funerals. And there's the conversation, funerals aren't for the dead, they're for the living, right? You go support and console people that you're close to who love the same people that you loved. But this idea of like we're too busy and we disregard or we don't make time and we nod. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was talking about catching up with a friend of ours and was just like, yeah, but every time we try, we need to make time because we always say, kids, right? And we just understand that, and that's our excuse for not having landed in the same place. And so there's this running conversation now across my friend group, and I'm seeing it pop up a lot of other places, that like friendship and community is inconvenient. Community is inconvenient. Like we went and picked up some friends from the airport at like midnight the other day, and like that's because they're dear friends of ours. And yeah, maybe we would have liked to have been in bed, but that's what you do to have community. And community is, the house isn't clean, but come over, or like I made double the recipe, or yeah, I can go let your dog out. Or we've got friends who've been out of the country for a month, and like it's been freezing, so we had to water their plants, and we all took different weekends to water the plants, but we killed the water. We turned the water off in their house. So you have to like go down to the basement to turn the water on, to fill up a pitcher, to water their plants, to turn it back off, and then go drain the lines. It's a pain in the ass to do that. It's inconvenient, but that's what community is. And I think the idea of a living eulogy is to say all the things to the people
And
that
do the
you love
acts.
and who mean something, and to do the acts while they're alive. And we reserve a lot of that until people are gone, to talk about how much we wish we had spent that time or how much we enjoyed them. So there's this larger, I think, conversation, but stems from this concept. I
think
really
that
dig.
bridges into the team building stuff. So
Mm.
we're doing a lot of what we call a kind of constitution shaping of new organizations that are either merging, and it's essentially a mediation between groups of people, right? That is, how are we going to operate in this new entity, this new configuration? But you're essentially doing team building. We say we don't do team building because we don't believe in trust falls and building stupid rafts and swimming pools and stuff. But it really is. But one of those fundamentals are, what are the rituals that you do that often aren't without friction? They take up time. They do a thing. I think it's in a similar realm. One of the rituals I was thinking about the other day that I miss is when Claire worked with us and we were on the road, there would always be somebody would volunteer to fetch coffees the next day. And so you get a bang on your door, or if you were the person, and I'd often do this, you'd go to the local half-decent coffee shop, grab people's coffee orders and leave it outside their rooms and bang on the door and you move on. And it was just a really nice thing. You started your day that's the team was just looking out, bringing you coffee. But I think, I don't know why we don't do that anymore, but it wasn't always Claire that went to get it. I just remember when me and Claire would travel, we did that a lot. And I love those things. But to your point,
it's inconvenient. It requires waking up earlier and going out and having orders and knowing rooms and all of it. It would be easier to just stay in bed, get up, get your own coffee, and then go to gig. It's inconvenient to build culture as much as community, because culture is just symbols, artifacts, rituals. As we talk about, the rituals that you do are the same things that happen in a neighborhood friend group or your longtime home friend group, are the same things that you can design, create, and be thoughtful and intentional about in an organization. We're talking rituals, and doing the ritual is inconvenient when you could just do the work or just focus on X, or just doing something else is where connection happens.
So I've got a suggestion for something for you to write. So we're about to launch our first Envoy guide, which is going to be one of a series, short books about how to do. So right there, Envoy field guides, how to do these things. Not the big theory behind it, but just how to do it. I think there's scope even in the professional, under the professional mantle of how do you make friends.
Well, when I figure that out, I'll write the book.
Oh, come on.
Here we go. You got anything else in this zeitgeist? There's a couple of things here. There you go. Handful of directions.
I'm so nervous about which one of these to choose.
You close your eyes and point. I won't see what you're pointing at, but I'll just pick one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Heinz Kraft. That's not what you thought I was going to pick.
I didn't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Quite relieved.
Keep you on your toes. So Heinz Kraft was going to split for better positioning in the market, if I remember correctly.
We covered this because
you talked about it.
Took the mick out of the names they were going to name the companies. One was the very professional consumer goods company, and the other was the slightly less, but also professional consumer goods company. It was ridiculous. But yeah, so the new CEO who came in, who was supposed to manage the split, has announced actually they're not going to split, and they're going to invest $600 million, I think it was, in
$600 million
to bring life to these brands. But he's fighting the economy. Because, so do you buy branded food?
I do.
Consumer goods?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, much to the chagrin of my fiance.
That's really interesting.
Because she's let's shop at Aldi. And and I'm maybe let's have nice shit. And, they're two different philosophies on life and super compatible in a household, and it'll be great. So yeah, I have an orientation to some brands, and
so
there are other things I would buy generic.
Give me some examples of some brands. Let's do brand versus generic.
Ooh, this is going to get me in trouble, but I'm going to start here. I'm a Hellman's kid. Hellman's Mayo. Over, what's the one that everybody... Dukes? Fuck Dukes. Hellman's Mayo for life. I grew up on Hellman's. I'm a Coca-Cola kid. I won't just drink cola. If I drink soft drink,
so somebody offers you a Pepsi.
Fuck you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
wow.
Yeah. Is Pepsi okay? No. If I wanted Pepsi, I'd ask for Pepsi. I asked for Coca-Cola. I didn't say, give me some pop, give me some fizzy sugar water. I said, give me a Coca-Cola. And that's what I meant. So, yeah, Heinz is one of them. I buy Heinz.
Like Heinz, what, ketchup?
Heinz ketchup, Heinz mustard, Heinz relish.
Okay.
And there are also things that I think it doesn't really matter. Like I'll buy generic drugs, so I don't need Advil branded.
Because you
I
realize
prefer Advil, but I'll buy ibuprofen. So like that's fine. So yeah, I there are some brands that I will spend a little bit more to buy the brand.
I think it was a Dan Ariely research subject
Mhm.
that covered. They put fMRI scanners on people's heads, like football helmets, as they did a reveal taste test between Pepsi, Coke, and what it showed was that in a blind taste test, people prefer Pepsi. So the Pepsi challenge is real, and it's something to do with like the sugar loading. You get a pig, right?
Yeah.
But when you can see the logos, the sort of pleasure sensors, that with the parts of the brain that measure enjoyment and satisfaction, that there is actual satisfaction from experiencing the Coke brand, like seeing it and feeling it. And so that's those same research groups. And I think you're illustrating that. I just think it hits a wall with certain things. I would say once you get through ketchup, it's all right. Like potatoes, you care about the brand of Apple. So obviously like
Stuff
produce,
that's commoditized.
but then you get into the world. So like, are you passionate about your canned soup brand?
No.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Brandon is. What's your soup? Candace's?
Candace's isn't a brand. You're saying Candace is passionate about her.
You
I thought he was saying I'm passionate about
Candace's
Candace's
soup.
That's Candace's soup.
Candace
Never heard of that
Nichols
brand.
only eats Campbell's soup.
It's Progresso. I don't know. It's something. She does. She only brings one type
brand.
of can of soup. David, what kind of soup does Candace like?
Brand.
Italian wedding soup.
No, I mean what brand?
What's that? Meaty one.
Hey.
The beefy one.
What's the meaty beef?
The meaty beefy one. There we go.
I think you're describing yourself. That's what she likes. She likes
This episode brought to you by Meaty Beefy Soup. The only kind that Candace will eat.
Hey, so
Hearty vegetable. Okay.
Naming brands. I think this is the illustration that brands aren't relevant. He's naming types of soup.
No, but if you bought the wrong brand, he would know.
So then, look, we're going to cut this out because it's ridiculous. But Candace gets a bit triggered because autocorrect. I think it's autocorrect, but she doesn't. She thinks people not listening to her name. She often gets referred in correspondence to can dance.
Yeah.
Well, now I think we know she does the can dance. She does not do the can dance. She only has one type of can of soup. Anyway, no, I think
terrible.
developing brands and like it's more about where is the line of the commodity.
Yeah.
And versus the product itself.
And that line is different for different people, right?
Yeah.
Ketchup is ketchup to some.
Yeah.
My dad would fall into that
Okay.
brand.
Yeah.
But mayo's not. Like, my dad is the reason I eat Hellman's mayo,
Mayo.
but ketchup, he didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a right or wrong answer, but I think for Kraft Heinz, as they're exploring right now. So the idea is that they'll revitalize their core brands, which is Kraft Mac and Cheese, Oscar Mayer, and Heinz. And rather than separating them out to separate entities, they're keeping them combined, and that $600 million is for marketing, sales, R&D, and that's the idea. But yeah, declining sales, increased competition, and I would imagine that line of commoditization, especially in light of
The
economics right
affordability,
now, is probably shifting. So like it's got to be a hard time to be in a premium brand space, and in upper tier brand space, not premium luxury, but an upper tier brand space. Because yeah, if we're talking 50, 60 cents, a lot of folks are making a different decision there.
The this is also one of those where like commentators' preferences, by that I mean sort of you and me, doesn't matter, but the data does, and the data is that Aldi is and Lidl
And
are
Lidl
kicking
crushing
the
it
ass
right
of
now.
the
Yeah.
Krokers of this world.
Yep.
And this is sort of your world of Nerdfest. It's the prices are being driven. So firstly, they pay their people incredibly well.
Yep.
Right. But there's very few of them. But it's also in the design. So
You don't open the crate.
the cartons are the
Yeah.
shelf.
Yep.
And so they've just removed all of these. It's not a surprise that it's a German heritage company. It's all like the design of the process that goes into it.
Yeah.
I shop at Aldi for a different reason. It's fast. Like if a lot of your life is around the value of time, it's a small footprint store. You're in and out of there in no time. And then, yeah, I just think it's interesting about where people go.
I feel that.
But I think when you're thinking about your products and the commoditization of it, and look in services companies, the role of AI in being able to replace what might have been the value and what you actually brand and what people will pay more for is, I would argue that in consulting now, the premium brand is going to be those people who can outflank the logic rather than just replicate the analysis of the logic, which is devastating for the Accentures, the McKinseys, somewhat the Bains as you go through. But yeah, where do you put your brand, and where do you fight for it, and where do you just let it go? And I feel for the team at Heinz Kraft who have got to say, actually, we can support a brand here. People will pay more, but we
can't.
Same for Unilever, P&G, all of these like darling companies that people used to want to work
CPG
for.
is tough.
Yeah.
Okay. Want to go to Tank Radio? All right. I would like to start now that our resident handyman has come back in because he is a retired Marine. There is a growing, increasing conversation. It's an opinion, but the conversation swirling is probably what tees up an opinion. So the Marine Corps just had its 250th birthday, and there are calls to abolish it. But I think this makes a lot of sense.
Called the guy through the wall. He self-described as Meaty and Beefy, and you're like, we should abolish what the Marines do. Yeah.
Bigger than he
You're
is.
a brave man.
I like my odds.
Our facial expressions
All right.
suggested we might be betting in a different direction.
That's fine. You got to bet on yourself before anybody else will. In the context of asset sweating,
Just be clear, David. When we say David's a Marine,
Mhm.
I don't mean like Tom Cruise, like Marine dress uniform. I mean, he always looks like he's just landed out of Tora Bora.
Yeah.
All right.
I realize my beanie and jacket don't do me any favors.
I like
right
my
now.
odds.
Life Aquatic versus Marine, it's the same thing, basically. Steve Zissou over, I don't know, John Cena, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, so the conversation about abolishing the Marines is, I think, it's a worthwhile, at least, mental exercise. Because we talk a lot about asset sweating, opportunity cost, and reinventing assets. The Marines are the smallest fighting force, originally designed as naval infantry.
Yeah.
So troops that could fight on land and sea, could secure ship decks, could conduct coastal raids, and like the advantage was amphibious warfare. So we have one would say, a strategic landscape that has shifted. Nuclear weapons, missile technology. One could make the case that the Marines and their function are outdated, right? The Navy has its own ability, especially with special ops, to secure ship decks, to do amphibious landings, so on and so forth. And the Special Warfare Group, Special Ops, has grown exponentially since the Marines were created. The Marine Corps receives $53 billion a year. That could be disseminated. This is 6% of the U.S. Defense budget. That is not a largest percentage, but as we talk about an astronomically sized defense budget, $53 billion could be held or used well elsewhere. We talk about the proud, the Marines. There are about 170,000 active duty Marines currently. And we continue to sustain, not because of mission requirements. If you're talking about land, you've got the Army that does what they do. You've got the Air Force and naval aviation in the place of the Harriers that Marines used to fly, right? And for land or amphibious landings, you have Special Ops. So Marine Corps has an incredible brand. We were just talking about name brand. The Marines are a well-known household name brand. You would pick the Marines off the shelf a lot of times because of the perceived ability for them to put their head through a wall. And they have done that incredibly well over the years. It just seems that there are other fighting forces that will also put their heads through a wall in the same exact way Marines will. So the idea is abolishing the Marines or allocating that budget and that personnel to other standing military units might make sense. And I get the argument.
So I just want to say you've made the public case for abolishing the Marines. I'm Venmoing you a cash request right now, or I'm reading out your home address on the radio. Which one are you going to choose? No, I mean, so look,
I get the case.
You would keep it because the spirit, but
Sure.
But the U.S. Marines are unique in that they are not a subset of the Navy.
They're not.
So they became their own branch, which I think is you could arguably save at headquarters. So
I mean, the Army Air Corps was like that, and we created the Air Force.
The
right?
peers of the U.S. Marines are the Dutch Marines and the Royal Marines.
Yeah.
And they all work very closely together. But both the Dutch Marines and the Royal Marines are a subset of their navies.
Right.
They're part of their navies, and that I've never understood quite why that was. In fact, the head of the Royal Navy currently is a Marine. And it's interesting. I don't know why. Somebody's going to write us and tell us the history of why the Marines have always been separate from the Navy.
Established it as a separate entity in 1775.
That was
U.S.
early.
Marine Corps maintains its own chain of command, specialized culture, training, and missions. Now, granted, some of that's Marine Corps propaganda, right? No, but if I were the Marine Corps, I would do the same thing. I would say nobody else can go do this mission the way we do.
We were talking about spirit,
Yeah.
right? And the that idea that team bonding and team that I think the Marine Corps spirit is the thing that keeps it separate and the thing. Now, I would also say that the Royal Marines are the same, and they say you sort of say, why would you need the Marines for that? And they go, oh, this is all on land. They go, yeah, but there's water in that tap over there. It's like, which basically means the army's rubbish. Is sort of
Yeah. Now they are both under the Secretary of the Navy, which that's like at the
That's
highest
one person.
level the admin rolls up. So all to say, yeah, I get, but I think as we kind of segue this into organizational decision making, the conversation should be had. And like I know we joke, like,
you should always have a conversation.
because there are folks who, even hearing me suggest that perhaps there is a reasonable, rational, logical case for abolishing the Marines, folks would be upset. Like that's the joke if I'd hand out your home address. The same thing happens in organizations, and so conversations don't get had because so and so would be upset that I even broached the topic, and we have to have those conversations. Is this still fit for purpose? Can we sweat this asset? Should we recalibrate or reallocate budget? And what is the opportunity cost of not doing so? And if the answer is the spirit de corps of the Marine Corps and the brand and the public perception offsets the $53 billion we spend every year because it's only 6% of the U.S. defense budget, that's a reasonable answer. If that's where we land, but we have to have had the conversation to get there and feel good about it and confident that that's what we're doing until we decide otherwise. There we go. We love you, Marine Corps. What's next?
I'm going to finish with this tip. Tools for tools. We'll include the link in the podcast. Grayscale your phone.
Oh, you've been banging on about
Bouncing
this.
back and forth.
Yeah.
So you want to, look, phones are necessary. We're all trying to spend less time on our phones. We realize what it's doing to our brains, blah, 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 all of that type stuff. But you just need them. You can't travel without them. You need them for your bank accounts, all that sort of stuff. So there's a feature on your phone, and we'll include the link, is that you can make your phone black and white, and it just makes your phone really boring. And then you can build a shortcut. So if you tap the side button 3 times, you skips back to color. So if you want to take a photograph, you want to look at it.
So you side button 3 times?
Yeah, well, I think you got to switch the setting on first, which is
That's
why I'll
right.
include the link.
Yeah.
But once it's set up, you just click the side button 3 times, so it goes from color and back again. But you do realize that the iPhone uses like candy type colors.
It
It
does.
looks like Cheerios in the US.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
And it just takes the it's like whatever.
Yeah.
Black and white phones, grayscale phones.
Yes, and to that
Yeah.
end, I've killed a lot of the notification bubbles on like how many notifications I have for a lot of my apps, not all of them.
Yeah.
So I don't have them on for I have them on for Wicker, our internal messaging,
you?
so I know, like I know how many messages have come in. I can always look at that. I don't have them on for mail. Like mail is coming in. If I need to be in mail, I look at mail. Having another number at the top of mail doesn't make me feel any better. Doesn't give me more information. It just makes me feel like I'm failing at mail. Right, and we started with how much traffic we have coming in. So being thoughtful about what apps you actually need to know that another message has come in versus what ones you should just turn, that you can just turn in your settings the red notification bubble off, and then go to grayscale. And so you'd start to depressure all of it.
I've got my third one.
Oh, here we
And
go.
you just reminded, because as you pulled up your phone, you've got a photo of Jules as your screensaver.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this one? Make your photo screensaver.
Somebody you hate?
Mark Zuckerberg.
I did hear that. Oh, that's great.
So turn your notifications off, turn it to grayscale, but have a lovely black and white photograph of Mark Zuckerberg as your home screen, and then you're like, yeah, whatever.
Mark Zuckerberg's a specific and probably more valuable, because I was going to say somebody you hate. I'm going to see somebody walk around with like a screensaver of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's going to be a bad look for them. So yeah, Mark Zuckerberg. Put Zuckerberg.
I think
as
there's
your phone
something
screen.
very specific about his face.
It's a very punchable face.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Yeah, but all the Marines are my friends. They've got my back. I endeared them to me over the course of this episode. All right, get us out of here.
As we head out, good friend of mine, Joe Doherty, haven't seen him in forever. Embarrassing photos of his on the internet wearing all sorts of gowns and fluffy hats and stuff because Lord Colwood, Joe Doherty is now Lord Doherty of Milne Gavey. Congratulations, Joe, on being ascended to the House of Lords. I hope you use your judgment incredibly well.
All right. Well, with that, I'm Ace Colwood.
And I'm Scott Wayne.
Go do something inconvenient.
Peasants.
Ed Merda.